Love isn't what you think it is. It's not pure, not unconditional, not even real in the way we romanticize it. Psychology has studied love for decades, and the findings are disturbing. What we call love is actually a cocktail of evolved survival mechanisms, chemical addiction, and psychological manipulation. And once you understand the dark psychology behind it, you'll never see relationships the same way. Here are the facts nobody wants to admit. The first fact is, love is chemically identical to addiction. When you're in love, your brain releases dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin in patterns that mirror cocaine addiction. Neuroscientist Helen Fisher scanned the brains of people in love and found the same reward centers lighting up as in drug addicts getting their fix. This explains why love feels euphoric, why you crave the person's presence, why separation causes withdrawal symptoms, anxiety, depression, obsessive thinking. You're not being romantic, you're experiencing chemical dependency. And like any addiction, the high fades. Your brain habituates to the neurochemical flood. The dopamine hits decrease, the obsession weakens. What you interpreted as falling out of love was actually tolerance. Your brain adapted to the drug. Now you need higher doses to feel the same high. This is why long-term relationships lose passion. Not because love dies, because your brain chemistry normalized, and chasing that initial high with new partners is just switching drugs. Same addiction, different source. The second fact is, you're attracted to partners who recreate childhood wounds. Psychologists call this repetition compulsion. If your parent was emotionally unavailable, you're attracted to emotionally unavailable partners. If your parent was critical, you're attracted to critical partners. If your parent was inconsistent, you're attracted to inconsistent partners. This happens unconsciously. Your brain recognizes familiar patterns and interprets familiarity as compatibility. But familiarity isn't love. It's trauma recognition. You're trying to master an old wound by recreating it with a new person, hoping this time it'll turn out differently. This time, the unavailable person will open up. This time, the critical person will approve. This time, the inconsistent person will stay, but they won't. Because you chose them specifically, because they're incapable of giving you what you need. And that pattern repeats until you become conscious of it, until you recognize you're not choosing partners, you're choosing wounds. The third fact is love makes you stupid. Literally. Brain scans show that being in love deactivates the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for critical thinking and judgment. This is why people in love ignore red flags, overlook incompatibilities, make terrible decisions. Their judgment center is offline. Meanwhile, the amygdala, which processes fear and threat detection, also decreases activity. So you're not just less critical, you're less cautious. You don't see danger, don't assess risk, don't protect yourself. Evolution did this intentionally, because if early humans carefully evaluated every potential mate, they'd never reproduce. So evolution hijacked the brain's reasoning centers to ensure pair bonding. But in modern complex relationships, this biological override causes disasters. You commit to people you barely know. Ignore abuse. Trust liars. All because your brain chemistry is literally preventing you from thinking clearly, and you call it love. But it's neurological sabotage. The fourth fact is, most people stay in relationships out of fear, not love. The endowment effect explains this. Once you invest time, energy, and emotion into something, you overvalue it. Not because it's actually valuable, because you invested in it. This is why people stay in mediocre or even toxic relationships. They've invested years. They've built a life. They've intertwined finances. Living feels like losing that investment, even when the relationship provides nothing positive, even when it actively harms them. They stay because the sunk cost feels too high. This isn't love. It's loss aversion. The fear of losing what you've invested overpowers the desire for something better. And that fear keeps millions of people in relationships that died years ago. They're not staying for love. They're staying to avoid the pain of admitting they wasted time. The fifth fact is passionate love has a biological expiration date. Studies show romantic passion lasts 12 to 18 months on average. Some people stretch it to 3 years, but almost never longer. This isn't pessimism. It's biology. Evolution needed humans to stay together long enough to produce and protect offspring through infancy. 12 to 18 months covers conception, pregnancy, and early infant care. After that, from an evolutionary perspective, the relationship served its purpose. The passionate neurochemistry fades. You're left with companionate love, which is calmer, steadier, less exciting. Most people interpret this as falling out of love. They think the relationship failed, so they leave and find someone new, and the cycle repeats. Passion, fade, leave, new passion, fade, leave. They're chasing a biological state that's designed to be temporary, and they'll keep chasing it forever because evolution never intended passion to last. It intended reproduction to happen. After that, you're on your own. The sixth fact is, infidelity is psychologically normal, not aberrant. Evolutionary psychology shows humans aren't naturally monogamous. We're serial monogamists at best. Males are biologically driven to spread genetic material widely. Females are biologically driven to secure resources and genetic quality, sometimes from different partners. These drives don't disappear because you sign a marriage license. They're still operating, and they create temptation, opportunity, justification. This doesn't excuse cheating, but it explains why it's so common. Studies show 30 to 60% of married people cheat at some point, and those are just the ones who admit it. The real number is likely higher. This isn't about moral failure. It's about biological drives conflicting with social constructs. Monogamy is a cultural invention, not a biological default. And forcing biology to comply with culture creates tension. That tension manifests as infidelity. Understanding this doesn't make cheating acceptable, but it makes it predictable. The seventh fact is love is often a power game disguised as intimacy. Whoever needs the relationship less has more power, and both partners are unconsciously competing for that position. This creates games. Distance to create longing, withholding to create desire, jealousy to create competition, mixed signals to maintain uncertainty, all designed to keep the other person chasing. Because being chased feels like power. Being the chaser feels like vulnerability. Neither person wants to be the one who loves more, who needs more, who's more invested. So they manipulate, they control, they test, and they call it love. But love doesn't play games. Attachment disorders play games. Insecure people play games. Manipulators play games. Real love is secure, consistent, honest. But real love is rare, because most people are too damaged to give it, too scared to receive it. So they settle for games, and convince themselves that the tension of the game is passion. It's not. It's just two wounded people trying to avoid vulnerability by controlling each other. These 7 facts are brutal. They strip romance down to biology, psychology, and manipulation. And that's uncomfortable, because we want love to be magic. Pure, transcendent. But it's not. It's brain chemistry. It's trauma repetition. It's cognitive impairment. It's sunk cost fallacy. It's biological timer. It's evolutionary drives. It's power dynamics. Understanding this doesn't mean love isn't worth pursuing. It means pursuing love with eyes open, recognizing the chemical addiction and managing it, identifying trauma patterns and healing them, compensating for impaired judgment with conscious boundaries, staying because you choose to, not because you're afraid to leave, accepting that passion fades, and building companionate love intentionally, understanding biological drives and deciding how to navigate them ethically, eliminating power games and choosing vulnerability instead. That's mature love, not the fairy tale, not the neurochemical high, but something more durable, more real, built on awareness instead of illusion. Dark psychology reveals what love actually is. What you do with that knowledge determines whether your relationships fail like most, or succeed like few.